Let me check the mic volume. Okay, this distance should work. And started. Welcome back to another live stream from Zenbird. This is Zenbird Live, where we share the week's sustainable news coming out from Japan. Now, a few housekeeping it has to do. Yes, next week Zenbird is gonna have an event. It will be Zenbird's first event, and it's a combination between Zen and between Zen and well-being. You know, recently, especially within this month, we've been since last month really, ever since the war started in Ukraine. And it's not just the war that's making us unease, there's also the coronavirus, and a lot more with Omicron, with is the third boost going to be useful? So much doubts in mind. It is natural for the mind to be at unease, and that's why we wanted to do our first event for this. We want to equip ourselves with the necessary tools. So what we will be doing here is actually next Thursday morning in Japan, that's GMT +9, we will welcome Dorothy Eshin Takatsu, an ordained Zen priest, as a guest speaker to guide us, to teach us the ways of Zen. Now, Eshin operates a Zen retreat center, very interesting retreat dojo in Suzaka, Nagano Prefecture, and she will share her perspective and offer guidance on the practice of Japanese Zen. So if you're interested in Japanese culture, and you're interested in Zen is not religious method, but it's a way, it's actually a process to find your true self, to realign yourself. And at this point, even among the climate crisis, I think it's very important for us to realign back with nature. And actually Zen is one of the tools that you can use. So and yes, this interesting is what Ashley shared with us is, you can meditate alone, but joining other people together actually gives a lot of strength, a lot of unity that helps you achieve meditation better practice. So hopefully it will leave you empowered to continue our journey when you leave this event. And before I start, I found this map. Let me close my... Okay, we got it. Yeah, as you can see, it's a new... I've moved place. I've moved to Wakayama 2 days ago. This place is quite spacious indeed. So you hear any echo, it's probably the reverb from the room. Anyway, yes, back to this map. This is actually the let me check. CO2 emissions gathered by NASA. The darker grounds are of course high, in a way burnt sense. You will notice there's a lot of carbon emissions from war. So again, it's not only is it costing life, it's affecting the planet in the worst of ways. And we're not just talking about Russian gas and oil. Even without it, over Ukraine is just one whole pile of carbon dioxide. And you will notice in Reddit, a lot of people also notice there's a high concentration of CO2 in Germany. I think it's because Germany stopped their nuclear plants and started burning coal. I haven't checked this. I need to check this. Please fact check. But I think that's what's happening for Germany. Germany has decided to accelerate changing to renewables so that they won't be dependent on Russian oil and gas, which is very good. So I think this is, if they are really burning coal, it's going to be a short-term thing. Compared to Japan, they have no other choice. They are actually going to start turning on nuclear plants. Yeah, something I found very interesting this week. Okay, let's Let's jump to our first article. Now, there are three articles that we're going to cover today. One about mental health, one about diversity, and especially in the sense of expression. And third, it's kind of a mix between gender violence and using design to solve an issue. That's a very good case study, which I think you guys can find educational. Yeah, let's move on to our first article. Notable author Banana Yoshimoto guides to living with grief. Banana Yoshimoto is one of the most famous Japanese female authors in the world. Her books are published in over 30 countries. The writer, Kamimoto-san, Kamimoto has reread her debut novel and masterpiece Kitchen for the first time in a while, and she has different thoughts of it compared to when she first read it. Kitchen describes the process of struggle and despair for those who have lost their loved ones. A young woman, Mikage, was often and raised by her grandparents. Her grandfather passed away when she was in junior high school, and so did her grandmother years later. When she was in deep sorrow, the kitchen was the only place to relieve her loneliness and sleep. A young man, Yuichi, who works in a flower shop where Mikage's grandmother regularly went, suggests that Mikage lives together with him and his mother, Eriko. Eriko is a biological father of Yuichi, who becomes his mother after Yuichi's biological mother passes away from cancer. The time spent with Yuichi and Eriko helps Mikage cope with her grief. Months later, Mikage leaves the house and starts working as an assistant to culinary researcher. Around the same time, Eriko is murdered by a stalker. Mikage and Yuichi falls into deep sorrow again. Even though they go back and forth, they find hope in their lives and start moving forward. A journey to find a way to live with grief. The novel depicts the deaths of loved ones. The story seems heavy and tragic and is often described as a book about loneliness in other countries. However, this novel made me think positively about living in this complex society because the characters are trying to find a way to live while carrying their sadness. This is a scene where Eriko talks about when she was still a man and going home from a hospital visit to see his wife. Eriko says, "I was crying out loud. I couldn't catch a taxi because a man would never cry like this. I have felt the desire to quit being a man for the first time in my life. The loss might have made him realize that he wanted to live as a woman. However, I felt that transforming into a woman may be a way for Eriko to escape the societal gender roles, insisting that a man should be strong. He might have thought that becoming a mother could allow him to be sad. He also might have lessened the despair from his loss because if he kept living as a man, he might have been asked about his wife or told to get a new one." Kitchen urges us to find hope by embracing life. In my opinion, Yoshimoto portrays the kitchen in the novel as a symbol of being alive and someone or something that we want to live for. The significance of the kitchen for Mikage changes 3 times in the story. It serves as proof that her grandmother lived, as a place to spend quality time with Yuichi and Eriko, and as a space where she can immerse herself in cooking. All these things provide hope for her during times of despair and become Mikage's motivation to live. Mikage says, "I will have several kitchens in my life." Most people have gone through hard times in their lives. Many are likely struggling tremendously right now. When facing despair, we all deserve to feel and express it with tears. Feel sad and express it with tears. However, we sometimes feel constricted by things such as gender roles, work positions, or even our unusual personalities. This novel allows us to feel sadness and live while carrying it, and gently guides us to find hope to continue with our lives. Now, there's a number of themes in here But we want to focus on grief. Mental health is a big issue in this country because of the lack of understanding for it. Now there are people trying to create more awareness to increase the penetration of such awareness in society. But I think there's one more concern about grief is that, I think coronavirus has left a lot of us unable to grieve properly, and when this is over, I think there's a overpouring of grief, and I think we are not too sure what will happen. Now, I found this article. This is kind of outdated. It's like 2 years ago, but I think it tries to tell us, what can we expect when post-corona period comes, and how people are going to deal with grief. So I'll read. Bereavement is a common human experience, and grief represents the normal reaction to the death of a loved one. The vast majority of individuals who lose someone usually adjust over a period of 6 to 12 months and finally develop a new sense of normalcy in their lives. But for others, this process becomes troublesome and prolonged. When people get stuck indefinitely in grieving, preventing them from processing the death and moving on with life, a condition known as complicated grief, CG, might eventually arise. CG is a chronic, impairing form of grief, distinctive from depression and PTSD and other conditions that may follow the death of a loved one. To our best of knowledge, no studies examine CG in the aftermath of an epidemic or a pandemic. Still, the coronavirus outbreak shares several features with natural disasters that have previously investigated regard to CG. Now, we're not going to go through the whole article, but later half of the article, they look at what happens in natural disasters and make the comparison. Moreover, people dying from COVID-19 usually do so after being admitted to ICU and remaining isolated from their loved ones until the end. This obviously poses an even heavier burden on the lost, but also makes it useful to keep in mind what may happen to bereaved people when death occurs in such circumstances and what we must expect from their grieving in the aftermath of this global emergency. So the main point here is people haven't been allowed to grieve properly, and how can people carry on with their lives if they don't go through that process to accept, to move on? And I think it is a global phenomenon that we need to expect. I think the key point here is to look out for around your friends who may have suffered loss, who might have not been able to grieve properly. Mental health is an issue worldwide now because we are living life not the way that we should, and that causes mental stress. It's a burden, so do look out for anyone that's like that and reach out to them. Okay, on to our second article. Nail polish trend among men may boost acceptance of gender diversity. Now this is a very interesting article. I'll just read it and you'll find it why for yourself. In an era of diversity of lifestyles, painting one's nails is no longer a habit only for women. This change is taking place even in Japan, where a questionnaire by a nail salon reservation app, Nailbook, shows that 40% of men who paint their nails have been praised for it. In a country with traditionally very rigid binary gender roles, it is a sign of greater acceptance of diversity and individuality. In December 2021, Nailbook, which is operated by Spica Inc., asked 124 men who have at some time made a nail salon booking about their experiences with NailCam. Yeah, nail salon reservation app. Continuing the article. Although the majority of them said that the people around them made no comment on the painting of their nails. Nearly 40% said they were complimented on it. In an increasingly genderless era, it indicates a shift in the assumption that painting one's nails is something that only women can enjoy. The results of the survey also showed that men were not painting their nails to garner popularity with the opposite sex. Rather, they did it simply because they wanted to. The graph below shows that the main reason for men visiting a nail salon was grooming. We'll talk about that. In a distant second place came an interest in beauty, followed by a liking of nail art or color. The final reason was to protect their nails. Among survey respondents, close to 50% said they preferred clear nail polish. Grooming is the main reason men visit nail salons. Although it has not been widely recognized yet, the trend towards men's nail care seems to be ramping up. Interestingly, 75% of respondents were aged 30 or over. Although the younger age group is considered more fashion and beauty conscious, men in their teens or 20s accounted for less than 25% of the respondents. While this is surely due to greater disposable income among the older generations, it also suggests that men's nail polish is not just a fad, but part of a broader social change. The broader benefits for men who paint their nails. The survey also explored how having their nails done has affected the man's life, with the question, what benefits have you experienced from painting your nails? Answers include the following. Not only have I started paying attention to the care of my fingertips, but also have started to pay attention to the care of other body parts. It feels good to see my fingertips in good condition. Women at our client companies often say that my nails are beautiful, which helps me make a good impression. There are many women in my workplace, and my hands are often seen, so the topic of nail care has really expanded communication among us. These comments show that painting their nails has brought the men a joy that they were previously shut out from, and sparked conversations that transcend binary gender boundaries. That break down our social barriers is a win for all of us. Accepting others' preferences even when they buck the gender norm. A famous Japanese song by Noriyuki Makihara called Donna Tokimo has the lyrics, "To be myself, I want to embrace the feeling of being able to express what I like." And also, at any time, the answers comes from days of searching. For people whose when exposed to the glaring eyes of the world is labeled as queer, they usually experience feeling lost. They probably then question whether they should continue to have that like. But to be true to ourselves, we need to always try to express ourselves, no matter what labels are thrown at us. The lyrics, "To be myself, I want to express the feeling of being able to express what I like," is a message to those who are hesitating to be themselves, and that is a noble thing, to express what you like. I believe you can find this song on YouTube, no problem. There is another way to interpret this. This is also a message for the friends and family members of people who come out as queer. It asks those on the receiving end to embrace the preferences of those who express a like that does not match their assigned gender norm. Remember that they will not tell you about it if they thought you could not be trusted with the information. Hence, dear others, please be proud of being trusted and give that person a warm hug. I think this is more than just being queer. It's really going for nail polish, to taking care of your nails. Why should it have any gender assignment to it? Doesn't make sense. Just like we say we don't only firemen. What about firewomen? Only policemen. What about policewomen? Yeah, this is another thing that we shouldn't be assigning gender to, and it's one of the ways that anyone can use to express themselves. And I think that's wonderful, especially in Japan. I think it's more popular in Korea though. Would be interesting to make the comparison. All right. Okay, let's go to our next article. Oh, there we go again. Now this happened 2 weeks ago when the browser froze. I'm still not too sure what happens. Why is it freezing? Yeah, this was what happens when I'm using a low-end setup for streaming. Oh dear, I can tell you that this week is gonna be a short stream. The last time we had this, yeah, we had to cancel. Okay, let me see if I can. Is it reacting? No. Okay, let's go to our big cam. And I'm going to load it out on my smartphone. Then we read from here. Now this is a very interesting news, so I really want to get through this. Oh yes, we got it. Okay. Beautiful. Let's do this. Let's jumping into this really quick. Now this makes me so angry because such people exist, and then it makes me so happy because this ingenuity of Japanese people to create solutions to it. Now, one of the reasons why Zenbird does what it does is share sustainable ideas, and this is an idea that, hey, maybe this can work. Not wholesale, you can't copy it wholesale, but there may be something that other countries, facing the same issue, might be able to use. Fighting back against chikan gropers through design and crowdfunding. Sexual violence, including assault and rape, does happen in Japan. Japanese laws place a high burden on the victim to demonstrate as proof that the sexual relations were not consensual and committed through assault, intimidation, or force. Actually, it's a lot worse, it's a lot harder for women here, but this is not the focus of this article. Nonetheless, reports of touching without consent or chikan during train or bus commutes are common. Well, chikan, in other words, gropers. A female student and her mother's struggle. Schoolgirls are often the target of chikan. One female student was a victim of chikan every day once she started high school. She was so scared that she couldn't even speak up and once went to school crying. Following the guidance of the police, she gathered her courage and raised her voice. However, no one around her would help her. Through trial and error, she and her mother made a chikan deterrent card and attached it to her bag. As a result, she was never molested again after wearing this card. What does the card say? So it looks like this, and the card says, "Chikan is a crime, and I will not keep silent." At the same time, the card's design was too direct and seemed unrealistic for many female students to carry. Just imagine, this is too direct. I think direct is good, but here comes the ingenuity of this. A friend of the girls suggested that they should make the card into a button badge, which will be easier to wear, and they began to make a prototype. A design project to consider gender equality began. So these are a few of the designs. A lot more aesthetically pleasing, with, of course, not too cute, but just I guess this, it still serves as deterrent through design effects. They had students wear the prototype badge to school and found it had the same effect as the card. Later in 2015, to spread the use of these button badges, she launched the Chikan Prevention Badge project and raised funds through crowdfunding. This project collaborates with schools every year to solicit design ideas from many students, and the selected designs were made into badges. This project aims to produce designers who believe that design has the power to change society and improve gender awareness within the next 10 years. The center has started to distribute the badges for free this month. Toward a society where problems are not limited to victims. If public awareness is directed towards the perpetrators, continuing the movement these badges began, it will help further deter chikan. To prevent sexual crimes, including chikan, in the future, it is crucial to prevent them in advance and involve bystanders. After the incident has already happened, it is too late in terms of the damage victims must live with. Moreover, this design project will hopefully prompt both men and women to think about sexual violence and enact changes that will alter the atmosphere of Japanese society. If you want to be part of this change, you can become a supporter on the project website. This is great news. And from time to time, I remember watching a documentary about this, and from young to old, there are all sorts of chikan. People who take photos of outskirts. I mean, wow, why do these people exist? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to jump into why, but it is infuriating that it exists. And many may think, yeah, Japan is safe, but if you live here, you realize that when it happens to you, it is very, very tough to so-called seek justice. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. No, that wasn't a very good Forrest Gump impression. Anyway, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so yeah, if you're interested in supporting this project, please visit the link in the description and find the link in at the end of the article. Today is really fast. We actually had one more article, but it's pretty similar to what we covered last week about LGBT. So I don't think we'll be touching on it. Since we have a bit of time, maybe we will look at something we haven't covered. Okay, so last week we talked about how we can reduce carbon emissions as individuals. Let's see how we can reduce carbon emissions in general. Now, as individuals, there are things we can do, and we talked about last week, which is ask two questions. As individuals, before we buy anything, we need to ask, where does it come from? How is it made? That sort of thing. And the second question will be, what happens to it after we are done with it? Do we throw it? Do we know how to upcycle it? Do we know how to recycle it? It's difficult to recycle. And by asking such questions, we are actually reducing, we are increasing the purchases of sustainable items, and we are decreasing waste. And this too actually helps reduce our carbon emissions, our carbon footprint, so to speak. Now, let's go in general on a bigger scale. How can we reduce carbon emissions in general? They are actually, I'll categorize into five different ways, but yeah, we'll go through this. The best way to tackle the problem of global warming and increasing carbon emissions is to look at the carbon cycle, or in a more straightforward sense, where carbon should be. Remember, carbon is not the enemy, but it is more about putting carbon in the correct places in the proper cycle. This is very interesting. Carbon is not the enemy. It's written by William McDonough. I'm butchering the name, I'm so sorry. But what he's trying to say is where carbon should be is the problem, not carbon itself is the problem. Because if you think about it, our body is made of carbon. Plants are made out of carbon. So how can we say carbon is the bad thing? Rather, we are putting too much carbon into the air. We are burning fossil fuels, and that's a problem. We need to put it back into the ground for trees to grow, and that's a good thing. But then we are cutting down trees, which is a bad thing. So by looking at the carbon cycle, where carbon is, it is going to help us tackle the global climate crisis. So thinking about it, there are several ways we can reduce carbon emissions. The first and most urgent is to stop burn fossil fuels. Just stop. Keep these carbon deposits in the ground. We must prevent oil and gas companies from burning them for greed. We are still ways away from success. There has been success. There are countries announcing they will stop using oil. But renewable energy is getting more attractive to shift towards because of falling prices. Now, when we talk about carbon, there's also green and blue carbon. For green carbon, what do we mean is plants, there's like trees and plants. Regenerative agriculture is one way to maximize the use of carbon dioxide for enriching soil. Another way is upkeep the forests, to keep them in a cycle to maximize absorption of carbon. So this is really so we are talking about two things here, right? We want to put all the carbon back into the soil. Of course, carbon is not the only nutrients in it. It needs nitrogen too. And why do we want to do that? Because we want to grow plants, we want to grow trees that will use this carbon to grow, to absorb from the air too in the future. There's also blue carbon. Remember, oceans also contain plants like algae and seagrasses. They absorb carbon. There's also the wetlands like mangroves, which is very crucial for carbon sequestration. And then we have technology. How can we suck the carbon dioxide from the air? So carbon storage is one of the newer ideas. It will require advances in technology, like using direct carbon capture technologies. These are very new technologies. I feel that it's not ready yet. There are experiments running it, but they haven't been really successful. And if you think about it, what's running these machines that's sucking carbon out of the air? Probably not renewable energy. But it doesn't mean we stop with the innovation. The companies, the startups are still trying their best. So it's a race against the carbon clock, really. Can they do it within the next 7 years? Who knows? Definitely we're not there yet, but I don't want to be negative about it. So to be serious, rather than counting on advancement in technology which we really need, I think two things we can do is keep investing in solar, keep investing in wind, because the prices are falling. And two, we want to buy ourselves more time. We want to increase the clock here, as you can see on the top, the red bar, 7 years, 128 days. Oh dear, when we started the stream, it was 150 plus days. The countdown might not be too good for mental health, but there are ways to tackle eco-anxiety. Anyway, back to what we are trying to say is, we want to try increasing the time. We want to buy ourselves more time for this carbon budget. And I think one of the key things we can do is actually tackle methane. I don't think Nick, I'll probably want to write something about methane. It is something to help us buy time, to increase that 7 years that we have, so that maybe so that we can allow time for advances, technological advances to catch up. Now, the final way is to achieve a circular economy. Even if we switch to 100% renewable energy tomorrow, we will have only cut 55% of total carbon emissions. The remaining 45% is related to the products we use, which is tackled if we design our economy to be circular. Hold on, let me write something down. Article. Okay. Now it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but I think it's good to know. It's good thing to remember that there's so much focus on switching energy towards renewables, but tackling carbon emissions, carbon dioxide equivalents, which mean greenhouse gases, other than carbon dioxide like methane, nitrous oxide, sulfur oxide, and so on and so forth. It's important to remember that even if we cut down all this, the things we use, the way we use things, will still produce greenhouse gases. The best example is actually food. If you think about food, if food waste occurs, the food may land up in landfill, and what it does is starts decomposing and releases methane gas, which is 28 times worse than carbon dioxide. And it has nothing to do with energy. It's us and our eating habits. It's also the business supply chain issue. When food is being thrown out, we produce carbon greenhouse gases, and that is why that's why Zenbird really wants to focus on the remaining 45%. We know the 55% policies, governments, Fridays for Future, thank you for doing all your work, Extinction Rebellion, and so forth. They're doing really good work to stop the greed from gas and oil companies, to challenge society, to challenge governments to take a bigger step towards renewables. But no one is still not enough people talking about what happens to this remaining 45. Thanks for buying time for us, but I think we can do some more. And that is what we as consumers can be aware, and that's why we have how to reduce carbon emissions as individuals, precisely because we can be aware of this and make sure we start composting, we start recycling, we start upcycling to be more responsible with our consumption. Okay, well, today's stream is short. I think we'll end it here. Now, again, Zenbird is having an event next week, next Thursday. So if you're interested, please sign up. We'll put the link in the description. And if you feel trouble, your heart is heavy, your mind is full, and you really need an opportunity to clear your mind, to find a method, to find a tool to ease your doubts and unease, please consider participating in our event, Cultivating Well-being through Zen Practice. During the events, what we'll do is we do have a talk, with Ishin-san, and then we have a Q&A session. You can ask any questions, and after that, we'll be doing a mandala. There'll be a show and tell for what mandala is and how it is being created. And actually, we'll share some things of how you can do them. So, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to know when our next stream is coming up. We haven't been very active in uploading new videos, but that's because I've been moving from Nara to Wakayama, and now I'm in Wakayama. You can see my background has changed. We're going to go back into creating more videos. Right, and today is Friday again. Be kind to yourself, recharge, because it's going to be a long fight again against the climate crisis, for justice of the Ukraine people, for human rights, to worry about the human rights of so many other people other than the Ukrainians that's going on in the world. Take care of your well-being. It is not sustainable if you are not mentally prepared, emotionally guarded to tackle all these issues, to help others along. So I hope you have a good week, have a good recharge, and we'll see you next week.